It all began with a headline that echoed across continents: UN General Assembly stunned into silence by unscheduled speaker. The world's attention was instantly captured, and curiosity spread like wildfire. The image was unforgettable: a man in a barong Tagalog, standing at the podium, his hands relaxed and open, as if inviting the world into a conversation rather than delivering a speech. The world's most powerful leaders, usually restless and distracted, sat frozen in their seats. They weren't bored or impatient, they were transfixed, awed by what they were witnessing. The usual hum and shuffle of the grand hall faded away. In its place, a profound silence settled, as if the very air was holding its breath. This was not the silence of confusion or awkwardness. It was the rare, powerful silence that follows a truth too deep for words, a silence that demanded respect. The man at the center of it all was not a president, nor a seasoned diplomat. He was Miguel Santiago, a former teacher from a small, quiet Philippine town, known only to his students and neighbors. Until that morning, he was a complete unknown to the world stage. Now, every eye in the assembly was fixed on him, and every ear was tuned to his words. News anchors around the globe called the moment historic, replaying the closing moments of his speech, where his gentle, steady voice seemed to carry the hopes and burdens of millions. He didn't raise his voice or use grand, sweeping rhetoric. Instead, he spoke with a quiet dignity and sincerity that cut through the noise of global politics and reached straight to the heart. Miguel was a last-minute substitute, expected only to read a safe, official statement prepared by others, nothing more than a formality. But in a moment of courage, he set aside the script and chose to speak from the heart, delivering a message that no one in the room had anticipated. The silence finally broke, not with the usual polite applause, but with a genuine rising ovation that began hesitantly and then grew in strength. One delegate stood, then another, until the entire hall was on its feet, united in a rare moment of shared emotion and respect. The applause was not thunderous, but it was deeply heartfelt, a recognition of raw humanity and the courage to speak the truth. On screens worldwide, a single question appeared: who is Miguel Santiago? The world wanted to know the man behind the moment. The man who had been invisible just an hour before was now the center of global attention, surrounded by cameras and questions, all because he chose to tell the simple, unvarnished truth. For once, the world was truly listening, hanging on every word, and for a fleeting, unforgettable moment, the world was united in silence, reflecting on what they had just heard. The story of Miguel Santiago had just begun, and its echoes would be felt far beyond the walls of that assembly hall. Miguel Santiago was never meant for the world stage. He came from a small fishing village in Iloilo, where the sea shaped every day. His hands were calloused from mending nets and teaching children. His parents worked hard, his father a fisherman, his mother a market vendor. Education was his way to lift his family, not escape them. He returned to teach in his childhood school, known simply as Sir Miguel. He stayed late for struggling students, organized cleanups, and listened to old fishermen stories. His selection for the UN was a fluke, a last-minute replacement with a valid visa. One day he was planning a lesson, the next he was on a plane to New York. The official speech he was given felt hollow, full of statistics and policy. It didn't speak of the real Philippines he knew, the fishermen, the nurses, the mothers. Miguel realized he couldn't read words that weren't true to his people. He decided to speak from the heart. Miguel's father taught him resilience, not with grand speeches, but with quiet, steady actions that spoke louder than words ever could. After a fierce storm destroyed their only boat, his father simply said, "Anak, we rebuild. The sea takes, but it also gives." There was no anger, only acceptance and determination. This lesson became the foundation of Miguel's life and the heart of his teaching, shaping every choice he made. He saw his students as small boats in a stormy sea, struggling against the current but always full of hope and possibility. He taught them more than academics. He taught them dignity, resilience, and the courage to rise after every fall. He told stories of everyday Filipino heroes, farmers, vendors, parents, whose quiet sacrifices built the nation's future. His classroom was a sanctuary of hope, a place where every child's story mattered and every dream was nurtured. He believed greatness was found not in grand gestures, but in daily acts of courage, compassion, and kindness. Standing in his New York hotel, the official speech in his hands felt like a betrayal of everything he'd learned. His father's words echoed in his mind. We are still here, no matter what storms come. The Filipino story was not written in economic statistics, but in the resilience and hope found in every village and every heart. Miguel made a decision. He would not read the official speech prepared for him. He would tell the real story of his people, the story that truly mattered. He would honor their quiet strength, their ability to rebuild and care for one another. He would speak the truth no matter the cost, because a Shrawi Chanda standard design, Zanao Bistoffer Nam deserved to be heard. That was the lesson he carried to the world stage, a lesson born from his father's wisdom and his people's spirit, and that was the story he would share, one of hope, resilience, and the enduring power of the Filipino heart. Miguel approached the podium, the world watching, every eye in the vast assembly hall fixed on him, waiting for words that might shape history. He set aside the official speech, its pages trembling in his hands, and looked out, not at leaders, but at people, searching for faces, for stories, like his own. He introduced himself, Miguel Santiago, a teacher from the Philippines, a simple man with a story to share. He acknowledged the prepared speech, but said, "It is not my story. It is not the story of my people. Our voices are often missing from these pages." He spoke of Elena, a nurse from his village, working double shifts in London, singing lullabies to her children over video calls, her heart split between two worlds. Her hands, healing the sick in a foreign land, are the hands of my country. Our contribution is measured not in wealth, but in compassion and care. He spoke of fishermen like his father, facing the sea with courage, risking everything for their families, helping neighbors after typhoons even when they had nothing left to give. This is Bayanihan, community. We rise by lifting others, by sharing burdens and hope. He described mothers who created feasts from scraps, who turned little into plenty, and nurtured dreams in their children, even when the world seemed to offer so little. We are a nation of 110 million heroes. You may not see them in headlines, but they are there, quietly shaping the world with their resilience. He asked only that the world see their humanity, their struggles, and their hopes. He ended simply, "Thank you, salamat po." His words hung in the air, gentle but powerful. The hall was silent, then slowly rose in a heartfelt ovation, applause echoing like a promise. Miguel's words had reached beyond politics, beyond borders, touching something universal. He had spoken to the world's heart. The moment was unforgettable, a memory etched in every listener. The world would not forget the Filipino teacher whose courage gave voice to millions. His story was now everyone's story, a thread weaving people together across continents. The silence was broken by hope, and the world listened, hearts open, inspired to see anew. For once, the truth was enough, and it echoed everywhere, a ripple of change spreading far beyond the hall. Miguel's speech exploded online before the applause ended. The Filipino teacher trended worldwide, news channels replayed his words, people everywhere saw themselves in his stories, nurses, fishermen, mothers, Filipinos abroad wept with pride. At home, his speech played in every corner. He became a symbol of dignity and quiet strength. For millions, he gave voice to the voiceless. His honesty resonated far beyond politics. Miguel was no longer just a teacher, he was the voice of a nation. His speech did more for the Philippines than any campaign ever could. The world listened, and the world cared. While the world celebrated Miguel, the Philippine government was uneasy. Officials praised him publicly, but behind closed doors, they were alarmed. He had gone off script. The official narrative of progress was replaced by stories of struggle and sacrifice. Some saw him as a diplomatic liability, not a hero. Quiet investigations began. Critics called him naive. The hero of the people was now a headache for politicians. Miguel's homecoming in Iloilo was triumphant. Flags waved, families cheered, his parents wept with pride. The village celebrated their hero, grateful he had spoken their truth. But in Manila, a cold summons awaited. At the Department of Foreign Affairs, officials interrogated him about protocol and diplomacy. He was treated not as a hero, but as a problem. They reminded him that his personal feelings were irrelevant to state interests. Miguel listened patiently, knowing he had done what was right. The contrast was stark, embraced by his people, shunned by his government. Two realities, one of pride, one of suspicion. Miguel stood by his truth, Facing officials, Miguel spoke with humble conviction. "I am not a diplomat. I am a teacher. I chose to honor the truth of our people." He explained he meant no embarrassment, only to honor the real heroes of the Philippines. His words left officials speechless. They could not punish him without public outrage. But Miguel's message had already taken root. His speech became living history, quoted in sermons, taught in classrooms, echoed in communities. He gave Filipinos a new language of dignity and resilience. His legacy was not policy, but a change in perspective. He reminded a battered nation of its worth. Miguel returned to his quiet life, teaching by example. He never sought to be a hero, but his truth ignited a quiet pride across the islands. The spirit of the Filipino people burned brighter than ever, and the world remembered the teacher who spoke the truth.